Welcome, everybody, to the Baseball Blueprint Podcast, your home for all things player development, where we highlight some of the best instructors in the game. Today, we have a special guest. We are pleased to welcome Pedro Montero. Petey is the Major League Video Coordinator with the Los Angeles Dodgers, this year's World Series champions. Petey, it's great to have you on the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Cody. And just really, I'm looking forward to having a little talk.
Well, for those listeners, Petey's been introduced to me by our mutual friend Tyler Packenick, who's also been on the show. He's a wealth of knowledge. He's had experience at multiple different levels. But uh, Petey, can you give us a little bit of your backstory? Give us a little bit of your journey to the role you're in now.
2017 was my first year with the Dodgers. I was hired on in the Dominican Summer League as one of the coaches there. So I was a hitting coach in the Dominican Summer League, and the Dodgers had just started this new program where they would have two coaches going back and forth between the Dominican and the Rookie League in Arizona. So in the Dominican, I was a hitting coach, kind of helped out defense and base running. And then when I would come back to Arizona, I was also the infield and base running guy and first base coach, bench coach. And then that's kind of where my journey started in 2018, I got moved up to High A, which at the time was Rancho Cucamonga. Now it's a low A affiliate. And then was the bench coach and handle all the infielders, catchers, outfielders, and base running. And then from there, 2019, was a double A bench coach. Same role, same responsibilities. Still helped out with the hitting as well. But yeah, just diving in, and then 20. Obviously, we didn't have a season, but I was going to Arizona, 21 and 20, and going into 22. I was going to take on the same role. I got kind of my title changed to like not coordinator, but defensive coach. Still helped out in every aspect, but my thing was helping all the young Latin infielders that we had, and all the infielders that we had. But we had a large Latin group of infielders, so they needed somebody that would speak Spanish and help with that front. And going into 22, just re-signed my contract, got a 2-year deal, and then the next thing, like a month later, a couple weeks later, I got a phone call from Brandon Gomes, our GM, and he said that a position had opened up on the major league side, and it was a video coordinator, but they were looking for someone on the baseball side that could also do the video stuff and help in other aspects. And so that was my first year in 22, was in the major leagues. And things have changed from 22 to now, where I was able to get all of our coaches and all of our stuff that we use on our 20 of our iPads that are approved by Major League Baseball. So instead of me having to print notebooks and put them in notebooks, they're now available on iPads. And then in following years, I got all the most of the coaches to use an iPad now too, with all of their information. But yeah, that's kind of like just the beginning. I handle a lot of the charting during the game. I'm kind of an assistant on the replay rack with my partner, Jonathan Rhymes, and I help out on the pitching department with TrackMan and Edgertronic, and hit fungos every single day, infielders, outfielders, throw BP, helping on the base running front with our former first base coach, Clay McCullough, now Chris Woodward, who is our new first base coach. Whether it's helping out, look at some pictures, and then put another video together. I help out the hitting coaches with all of their stuff. I handle all of our internal lineup materials. So I set our lineups for both teams, and that produces a bunch of materials that we use, which includes infield cards, outfield cards, cards that coaches use with certain numbers and analytics that they use, and you name it. There's a bunch of other stuff too, but that's kind of like the small part. And then players have specific things that I either print for them, put on their personal iPads, put in their personal notebooks that they bring to me, and certain pitchers have a bunch of stuff, and then I get them what they need. So kind of like kind of cover a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Wow, dude, it's kind of like one of those things where, like, hey, if you asked, a college baseball player, hey, if you had like a job that wasn't being a professional baseball player, what would you do? It's something like that, right? You have your
Yeah.
hands in all these different areas of the game. You get to help prepare. You get to evaluate. Wow, that seems like a lot of fun. Now, as you've kind of had to adjust role to role, because every role calls for different things, now that you're doing this piece where your hands are in a lot of different buckets, discipline wise, what's been the biggest adjustment for you?
I think the biggest thing for me that I've noticed is how to get all of this stuff done uh, in a timely manner, just because of the fact that if today was a new series, we were playing, let's say we're in a series right now with San Francisco, we're opening up this first game. I would have finished all of their stuff 2 to 3 days ago. So today I'm getting ready for, let's say we play the Padres the next series. On this first day, I would have started on Padre stuff already, which is like running video, which gives me about 44 gigs of video that I have to separate between right-handed hitters and right-handed pitchers and left-handed pitchers
Okay.
for those specific hitters. And then downloading all those things just takes time and putting them into the iPad system. And then you got to talk about base running. And then, for me, like I'm helping out, whether it's looking at first and third situations, cutoff and relays, or a particular play that happened in our game or in a game, and then getting the video to show to the staff, or we saw something great of a player and I have to pull this video and edit it to be able to show it to the players in the hitters meeting, or, whatever the case may be. But um, to be honest with you, like it's been a lot of fun just because of the fact that I'm in so many buckets and I get to learn a little bit more of, the pitching side where, when I was first coming up as a coach with the Dodgers, pitching was important, but I didn't understand it until 2018, where I had Connor McGinnis, our assistant major league pitching coach. He was our pitching coach in Rancho with us. And the more I dove in with him and talked to him about pitching and how that relates to positioning and so on, it helped me understand. And then I started to love pitchers more than I did before. And now it's like a part of my everyday thing where now I'm with a pitcher that's asking me for some video on hitters, and maybe some materials that has some numbers on them. Like I'll give you an example. Like Jack Flaherty had a packet that he needed for me. I get it to him as soon as I knew he was starting. 5 days away, 4 days away. Kershaw the same. Bueller has some stuff that I had for him, and then has a couple relievers that asked me for a couple things. So being able to like also dive into this information, not just like producing it and then like, oh, here you go, it's done, really helped me to understand like everything that we do from a workload standpoint with pitchers, and playing in my head during the course of the game, like, oh, we could probably go with this guy because this matchup, but this guy is already thrown 3 days in a row, so he's probably down. So the next guy up, and then you see it kind of play out, and you're going like, oh, okay, maybe I was in the right direction, or maybe because of the inning and the score, I ended up not being able, we ended up not being able to use this guy. So in that sense, it's been great. And then obviously the hitting stuff I've always been into, and seeing how we formulate a game plan against a guy, and then seeing that play out and how we like are taking borderline balls that are maybe strikes, but they're actually balls, and you see that, and then now we pass the baton, and then here comes a 5-run inning, and you're going like, wow, like this is a special group. So it's been a lot of fun. Obviously, you're learning as you go, and then you're trying to make it your own, because you are kind of in charge of a lot of things that you're trying to figure out the best way to produce this and as quick as you can, because ultimately my job affects the rest of the staff. So if I don't have these things on, Dave Roberts' desk, or Bob Guerin, or the lineup's not set, and Daniel Lehman and Mark Pryor, those all of our staff can't do what they need to do, or pre-series stuff where Dino and Clayton at the time, so it'd be Dino and Chris Woodward now having their pre-series positioning stuff. Like all that stuff that I do is more of for the staff, so that then I go back and dive into as well. And once you get a routine down, I think it just makes things a lot easier.
I dig it, man. Speaking of routines, let's dive into some of the guys you've had a chance to watch work, and I mean you've got guys like Shohei Ohtani, you've got Mookie Betts on that roster. Can you give us just a little bit of insight to what their day to day looks like and some of their habits?
Yeah, I mean, Shohei, I got a chance to kind of be there and support him with whatever he needed when we first signed him. I had just come back from coaching winter ball in Puerto Rico, and he was coming in rehabbing his arm, and then he was getting ready, obviously to hit and do all the things that he needed to do to get ready for the season. And the attention to detail that he has, and like he practices with the purpose and intent, and watching him, like I mean, I've never seen anybody hit off a tee consistently like literally 100 miles an hour off the tee. and the work that he does. And he's like looking at every swing. He's got the blast, the hit tracks. I think he's got Rapsodo. He's got a bunch of other stuff that he like goes through, and you're watching him, and then he moves on from like T work to flips, and then throughout the course of the year he like uses the red machine and then BP, and off the regular machine, and you're watching him like take these swings with a purpose, and then he goes out and then he does what he does, and you're going like, this guy's really special, because of how he does it. And then he preps, whether it's in the gym, in the training room, and then to do all that and then see him also rehabbing his arm for pitching for the next year. I mean, this guy fits it all in somehow, and it is incredible to watch somebody. And oh, by the way, there's an iPad that I have for him that he has all the information of like video on pitchers and that stuff, and he'll ask, he needs his iPad at a certain time, and like he looks at the video of the pitchers, and he's also dialed in, and then he steals 50 plus
Yeah.
bags, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Like besides diving in with Clayton McCullough and all the video and stuff that we were able to put together from, he just had an edge and he was ready all the time. And that didn't stop even after he got 50. Like the next day he was, hey, what do we got on this guy? And he would go and look, and he did it all the way throughout the playoffs. And it was really fun to watch him. For Mookie doesn't know when to stop, like in a good way. Like he can literally go all day, and you watch guys and like people are like, is he still really? And he's fine. And then he goes out and he plays 9 innings, no big deal. Defensively, obviously, he worked, excuse me, worked really hard at second base, and then had to move over to short. And I hit him a lot of fungos last year, and to watch him go through the work that he went through, and trying to put all together, and then he gets hurt, and this guy just never stopped. Like he was always trying to grind on the field, in the infield. Then when he went back to the outfield, he went like clockwork, went back to doing all of his stuff in the outfield and making sure he was ready. And then you watch him in the cage, and he's just grinding in the cage when he was struggling, and then going in the playoffs, and he literally is trying to find a way to get better every single day. I mean, as a matter of fact, the last couple of weeks we've been going to the field. I've been helping him with video and some other stuff, and hitting him ground balls, watching him get his work in, because he's going to play short
Yeah.
again this year, so he's putting in the work to do that. And to see him out there even now, like it's like this guy is on a mission to be really good at shortstop. You can appreciate it, and it's always good practice. He asks like the right questions. He wants to know why and how to do it, and then he wants to figure out what works best for him. And I think that's the cool part, is like he has these cues for himself, whether it's hitting or whatever it is, fielding and throwing. And if I do this is going to remind me to do that. And it's really cool to watch. And right now we're at the beginning stages of like watching him go through his work and throwing, and he's in really good shape right now, and excited to see what this brings in the next month leading up to spring training.
Wow, man, that is electric. Wow. So for those listeners who are looking to get a deeper dive into what PD does on a day to day, we'll be able to find his social media and any kind of outlets that are therein on the Baseball Blue Book app. Feel free to check that out if you're a prospective player looking to get into camps locally, showcases in your area that's going to be there. It's absolutely free, and it's a resource that I recommend to all of my high school and even college players who are looking for new homes. Also, special shout out to Valley Sporting Goods for sponsoring this episode. PD here is an ambassador for Valley as well. And so I know on our end at the Bodome here, we use Valley products every day. It gives us a little bit better of an idea of our pocket awareness, how to be more accurate. And I think, PD, I don't want to speak for you, but in your experience, how have you been able to use these products, and what do you see the value, start to show with these?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, especially when I was in the minor leagues, and obviously a little different than in the position I'm in now, where I kind of more help assist the rest of the staff. But when I was in the minor leagues, like we use them a lot. We use the like the Eagle KK,
Yeah,
and the modified pancake, which like is really awesome, just because of the fact that you can still squeeze it
that's
and
the
catch the
flexi one,
ball.
right? Yeah,
Yeah, the flexi one, and I really like that one. And I think just training the right way with these gloves, and there's so many different things that are out there and things that are helpful. And I think if you find something that works for you is great. I'm a big fan of using the training gloves with the small
Yeah.
sized real weight
Mhm.
baseballs, just to help with the pocket awareness as well, and like making sure guys are being consistent with the catch, because at times every glove is great, and you want to try to make it as realistic as possible. And everyone has their own routine and what they use and how they use it. And I think that with a player, it just what works for him is what we kind of help support in that moment. But I'm a big fan of the gloves since they first came out, and I started helping when I started my camp, especially during COVID. I was became like a glove seller, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
And it was more just to you know get gloves out to people, and people that came to my camp and wanted to get other gloves, and just trying to get the product out there, because I believed in the product and still do.
Yeah, yeah, they do a great job. They do a really, really good job. So, as we dive back in here, Petey, can you give us a little bit of your backstory in terms of who's kind of helped sculpt your identity as a coach? Can you give us some names here who have made some impacts on your coaching style and your journey?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, we always go back to my dad. Like, my dad introduced me to the game, and that's where, it definitely started, and the love for the game and all those things and the basic fundamentals. And then as I got older, you've had really good coaches. I had a coach that Cindy Kramer. She was one of my travel ball coaches when I was a freshman in high school. And to watch her like work, and she was not very tall, and I still talk to her to this day, and still tell everybody she's one of my favorite baseball coaches I ever had. Um, she was tough, like, and she didn't take no for an answer, and she wanted the best out of every player. So I'll start with her. And then every coach, my high school coaches, Coach Gomez, Coach Davis, and I can go on this list. My college coaches have all had some kind of impact in my life, whether it's Coach Avalar, Coach Wing, Coach Sua, Coach Laird at William Penn University. And then the biggest one has been my mentor, who I still talk to this day, is Reggie Smith. Former player, former Dodger player, coach. He's kind of taught me. He was the one that actually helped me become a baseball instructor. I just wanted to play, and he was putting me in these situations, working with the younger kids, and didn't realize that that's what he was doing. And then when I graduated from college, he pulled me aside and said, "Hey, I want you to come work for me." And I studied under him for 2 years, literally side by side, until I had the opportunity to kind of do my own lessons. And he was kind of teaching me every little thing. And like, you need to know a little bit about everything and know a lot more about the things that you're passionate about, which, like, for me, was base running, infield, and hitting. Um, but I caught enough. I played the outfield enough, that I could still run a practice and still dive into those things to this day and learning on a daily basis. I would say that, there's definitely a lot of coaches in the minor leagues that I've been around. John Shoemaker is one, has been with the Dodgers for 45 plus years. I also had Steve Yeager, growing up, and played independent ball. He was my skipper, and we've kept in touch all these years, even when I started working with the Dodgers. Um, and then there's, Clayton McCullough. We've been close since I started working for the Dodgers, and he's asked me to do a lot of projects, when I was in the minor leagues. And, a lot of the things I do thank him for is because it's put me in this position, I think, because I've been able to handle things that I never would have dreamed of doing, whether it's learn how to use PowerPoint the way we use them in baseball, or building your own template on Excel, and like messing around all off season and trying to build these like cool little things, instead of chicken scratching on a piece of paper, a infield program or some practice, like all those things. Got a buddy, Austin Chubb of mine, who's our Dodgers minor league field coordinator, and him and I are really close, and we dive in and we pick each other's brains. And there's a long list of people that I can definitely say that I've been around, and other coaches with other organizations. I'll probably forget to name everybody, so I'll just say anybody that I've been in contact with, or that I know, that I ask questions to, have all impacted me in one way or another, and have opened my mind of, like, it's not just one way of doing things, but being able to go, well, if we made this adjustment, we could get better doing this. Or let's make this look live versus maybe a more controlled environment. And one more person that I will say, Sean Larkin, who was our infield and field coordinator, then became the farm director with D-backs, and now is a third base coach with the D-backs. And we've had a lot of great conversations about infield play, and him and I have got become really close and have a really good relationship because of infield play.
Wow, wow, that's some powerful stuff, man. Um, what a journey, dude. I mean, that is all the people who have made an impact there, and for those of you, if you're listening to, for the people that have talked to me, and again, your name gets thrown out a lot when it comes to infield play, and even in the circles that are in now in the college space, just in terms of here's how collaboration looks like, right? And so a lot of that is getting tossed around from guys who have been involved with either infield chatter, people involved with different areas of professional baseball, higher level college baseball, even high school baseball, where you can tell like the brotherhood and camaraderie is there. And I think there's enough collaboration, and especially in the infield space, where we're able to bounce ideas back and forth, and we're able to get experimentative, right? And try stuff out. And I think, at least from the people that I work with now, who have been lucky enough to work with you and meet you, the things they say are incredible. So it seems like a great journey. And PD, we're gonna close on this one here, and we're gonna play pretend real quick. We're gonna reverse time here. You're gonna go back to when you're 20. Let's go 24 years old.
Whew.
You've got three
Okay.
things to say to yourself. Doesn't have to be baseball related. Give yourself three pieces of advice that you think you ought to hear at that time.
Number one is you are supposed to be at that moment when you are supposed to be there. And I'll say that because it took me 8 years to get an opportunity to get hired as a firefighter. I worked for the fire department, and with all the people that have influenced me, the fire department and my friends in the fire service have also had a big part of that, with the attention to detail. And like, if you don't pay attention to little things, people die on the fire ground, as they say. And in baseball, like, if you don't pay attention to little things, bad things can make bigger things happen in playoff and big situations. And that would be number one, is like, you are where you're supposed to be at this moment in time. Number two is like, you just keep going, put your head down and just keep going. Like, the only one that's going to stop you is you. And probably number three is just continue to learn. Like, and I do that every single day. Like, I there's not a day that goes by that I'm not trying to learn something new, whether it's on, one of our websites that we use, or, learn how to re-edit some video for, you know, infield stuff, or how I can make things better, and how I can make a PowerPoint better, take more information and, save it so that I don't forget it. And, cause a lot of times, things will go out there and then you just kind of throw in the back burner and you forget about it, and you're like, oh man, I wish I still had that. So I try to, if I learn something or I get some information, to save it. So continuing to learn and grow, I think, is probably one of my number three for sure.
Wow. Well, Petey, I'll tell you what, that was a blast for me. We've been trying to get this set up forever, and I think one of the beautiful pieces about this game is you never know what's going to happen. This morning, I didn't know what was going to happen this evening for the recording, and you were available, man. So hey, I appreciate it. For you listeners, please check out Petey here, and again, for those of you on the West Coast, these Dodger fans, this is a big reason of why your team is as good as they are, and why that organization is who they are, because of the people they surround themselves with. So, Petey, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to the Baseball Bluebook Network for sponsoring this episode and partnering with us. And again, shout out Valley Sports for being a huge piece of this. Petey, thank you, man. This has been a blast.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me, and thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it. And I love to talk baseball and talk about experiences that I've had, and sharing with people. Because you just never know. Like, somebody might need that little kick in the butt of like, I got to keep going. Like, just when they think they're done. It took me all this time to want to become a professional coach when I got through the minor leagues. And it happened by chance because of a kid that I used to coach who ended up getting hired by the Dodgers. So, to have that opportunity is, just got to grind and work. And when it's your time, it'll be your time.
Wow, wow. Great stuff, guys. Great stuff. So, listeners, I hope you enjoyed this. I know I got a ton out of this. I got goosebumps right now. That was incredible. So, thanks for listening, guys. We will see you next episode. Bye.
See you.